You opened up your heart and told your wife how you feel, only to get nothing back. Just a stone cold wall of her saying, it's too late, I'm done. There's not really a worse feeling than that, is there? It's not just that she's cold and distant and threatening divorce. Over time, you went from being the man of the house to feeling like a distant observer in your own marriage. But what's even worse, she couldn't care less about your efforts to change, could she? You'd almost prefer her anger because at least then you know she still felt something. So how did this man go from that to this?
Our actual communication between us is a million times better.
A game changer,
Yeah.
to be honest.
It's just everything. It's not just our marriage that's improved. It's all parts of your life, really.
Yeah.
Well, in this video, I'll show you how Lewis took his wife from rejection to respect and completely transformed the communication using 5 powerful shifts. One of which perfects communication with her and opens the door to real intimacy. By the way, that last shift was so effective that Lewis became a role model for everyone around him.
It's just been incredible. Even to have like friends come to me to say, what are you doing? Because you've changed so much. You're such, a better person. And I want to, they want some of it now because they know that it's such a good positive change that I've made.
Lewis didn't just need to save his marriage. He had to confront the one thing quietly driving his wife further away. Once he let go of it, the shift was undeniable. I bet you can't even tell that this is a part of you too. But once you let go of it, it feels like a weight has just been lifted. You stop walking on eggshells, and your wife can sense the change. She begins to let her guard down, and a new attraction for you starts to just grow inside of her. Go ahead and have a listen.
One of the things for me was learning about, the first book I bought was No More Mr. Nice Guy. And that, I was reading that and that ticked so many boxes for me. And I remember reading some of the things to Emma at the time, like covert contracts, things like that. And I was so bad. So I was terrible for them. All the time we would do that, and we just found that I just built up resentment then because I wasn't discussing things, and there was a lot, to be honest. It was a lot.
Lewis had a breakthrough when he discovered No More Mr. Nice Guy. He realized that his habit of holding back his true feelings and seeking approval from Emma through covert contracts, nice guy gestures, with hidden expectations of receiving affection, it all started to slowly demise their connection together. And it wasn't just damaging his confidence, it was quietly building resentment within the relationship. He discovered the need to erase the nice guy syndrome. The nice guy syndrome is when men suppress their true needs and emotions to win approval by being nice. It's often shaped by a lack of a strong male role model, or oftentimes our fathers were too aggressive, so we wanted to be the opposite. Over time, this niceness leads men to frustration and just emotional distance. And I know this because I used to be that guy. And as Dr. Glover says in his book, nice guys believe that if they are good, a nice little boy, right, and they do everything right, what they're supposed to do, they'll be loved, they'll be accepted, that all their needs will be met, and they'll have this problem-free life. By erasing this mindset, Lewis stopped trying to just win her affection by covert contracts and all the ways of not showing up as his authentic self. In Lewis's world, everything seemed fine, or so he thought.
I think I was in what turns out to be a very normal position of thinking everything's fine, we're great. And then all of a sudden, M sat me down and it was like, no, we're not great. We're splitting up. Yeah. And for me, it was a huge shock.
A shock that rattled Lewis to his core. But if you've been watching this channel, you know how often this happens. When one partner believes everything is fine while the other's already halfway out the door.
And I think you were a little bit dumbfounded as to why it was a shock, because you were like, this has been coming for years. Like, why, how didn't you realize this? Why didn't you know this was coming?
Not only were they on completely different pages, but neither of them had the tools or the language to bridge the gap. And that's where the trouble started to creep in.
We had been together a very long time, and I think we'd only ever really been with each other. So when things got difficult, we didn't really know how to deal with that. And actually, we didn't ever deal with those things. We just let them go and never resolved any conflict properly.
And the unresolved issues just kept on piling up until finally the last straw broke the camel's back.
We had been invited to a wedding in the Philippines, and we had known for a few years, and Louis decided not to come for multiple reasons. But this was one of the things that Louis would do, where he would is careful with money. So he would always say, no, 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 I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go. But then like the last minute, he would always show up at the last minute. And this time he didn't. So I went on my own. And while I was away, it made me realize, once we had that space, it made me realize how unhappy I was. And then when we came back, I think we'd had plans to go and see someone guest speak somewhere. And because I hadn't organised childcare, we didn't have anybody to have our son. So then we couldn't go to the event. And so then I said to Louis, like, I'm not dealing with it anymore. Like, you deal with it or we're not going. And so we didn't go. And so it was that moment where I was like, I can't do this anymore.
With his wife at a distance and desperate for answers, Lewis found himself just really at a crossroads. You know, friends offered him advice, but it wasn't the kind of advice that would save his marriage.
A lot of my friends were under the, oh, you're better than her. You don't need to change. You need to leave her. You can go and find a younger woman. You can go and find someone better. Like, you need to man up and leave her. And
oh, wow. That toxic advice echoed in his head, urging him to just run away, to give up, move on. But something didn't sit right if he really examined his heart. So he sought out real help from one of our coaches. It completely flipped the other advice he was getting from other marriage experts. Among the many powerful lessons that Lewis learned through the program, one stood out above all else. It's a principle that it's a principle that's hard to master, but once you do, everything changes. It creates this ripple effect in your marriage, building a sense of safety and security that your wife can't help but notice. She'll start to trust your stability, lean into presence, and feel more drawn to you. Here it is in Emma's words.
We've had friends go through breakups and they've had children and stuff. And I would say a lot of it was just how Louis handled it, because I had made an assumption as to how he would react. And so I'd been putting off the conversation for a really long time. And I actually had conversations with coaches and stuff because I was like, I don't know how to broach this. He's going to be so angry. He's going to do this, say this. And then he was a completely different person than what I expected in those weeks afterwards. Like, I guess how you would expect someone to behave when you say that it's over. So just initially, how Louis acted surprised me.
Lewis honed the unshakable response. In emotionally charged conversations, Lewis stayed calm, collected, and completely unreactive. He no longer let emotions control him, and his unshakable demeanor left Emma stunned. This was the Lewis 2.0. For the first time, Emma felt something just new, novel. Like, who was this guy? She felt safe. She could finally open up without feeling just like there's an explosive reaction about to occur. See, when you handle your partner's emotions with grace and calm and stability and strength and just emotional maturity, to be honest with you, it opens that door towards safety, trust, and then finally, intimacy. And in Pulp Fiction, Jules, Samuel L. Jackson's character, he faces down two robbers in a diner, okay? Tim Roth's character approaches Samuel L. Jackson, and rather than responding violently or escalating the situation, he remains calm and composed. His demeanor disarms the robbers, and especially Ringo, who expects aggression. Now this scene, though not about romance or intimacy, it still illustrates the point of being emotionally grounded in a tense situation. This ability, more than any other ability, is the first primer of a behavior that shifts the way she sees towards you. And this brings us to our next principle, which builds on everything Lewis and Emma learned so far. It takes communication to just the next level. Imagine being able to read between the lines, understand her feelings before she even says a word, and resolve issues before they escalate. That's the power of this next one. Now, I'm going to introduce this by saying that Emma and Lewis consider traditional marriage counseling first, but now Emma describes why they don't need it.
Our actual communication between us is a million times better. That I don't necessarily at the moment feel like I need somebody else in the room to help me explain myself because Louis listening to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So like, for me, that's a massive win because that was clearly where we must have lacked so much in the past that if something was wrong, we couldn't communicate, nor could we listen without getting frustrated ourselves. Whereas now I feel like we're able to voice if we're upset with something, and then we clear the air very quickly, and then we resolve it, and then that thing doesn't happen again.
Lewis and Emma's journey highlights a major shift in the relationship, the attunement breakthrough. Go ahead and listen to our conversation.
We can actually hear each other. So it's not just listening to respond, straight away to go, well, you said this, you said that. It's listening to actually hear what she's saying and feel what she's saying, and understand it on that deeper level. To then, and then taking a second to, okay, well, how am I going to respond to this? And empathizing with her and understanding that the emotional side of things. And I think in one of the videos from yourself, it talks about like the words she's saying versus what she actually means. And it's learning that side of things that has been a big game changer for me, I think.
Yeah, that speaks to the idea of attunement, right? Where, I mean, if you hear most therapists, they'll say like, people just want to be seen, right? And that's what that is. Like when she's speaking to you, are you going into your head of like, oh, no, this is bad, like solve the problem, fix it, get rid of this emotion? Or are you like, oh shoot, the person I love is in pain right now. Let's lean in and like see what's going on here and like see how she's feeling and all that. And that difference, you can feel that, Emma, when he's like attuned with you, right? In the moment versus like distracted in his head, trying to get rid of your emotions. This is the key to emotional connection. Now for Lewis and Emma, their communication improved dramatically because Lewis learned to listen without reacting or trying to fix things, right? This made Emma feel just understood and safe enough to share her feelings. Attunement is vital because when your partner feels truly heard, conflict just naturally de-escalates, right? And intimacy will deepen. And that conflict will be a vehicle to allow intimacy to deepen because you're working through the issues together. Stephen Progress came up with a theory and explains how our nervous system reacts to feelings of safety and danger and how attunement is crucial for emotional security. According to the theory, the vagus nerve regulates stress responses and fosters emotional connection and trust. So by learning to attune to Emma's emotions, Lewis created an environment where her nervous system just felt safe, reducing defensiveness and conflict. So how did he achieve this breakthrough? We'll have a listen.
I really lived under the happy wife, happy life concept previously, which is just crap. It's just a load of crap. And really sort of leading into that conflict as to when like I'm not happy with something. And also I feel like I'm in a better space now to understand and hear Emma when she's not happy about something, even if she's not confident to say it directly. I can feel like I can pick things up on a bit better. And
he leaned into the conflict, unafraid to face it head on.
And even now, like if we bring something up, we're both able to say, I need a minute, or can we come back to this? I need to calm down, because it's instinct, isn't it? You want to defend yourself and be like, no, I didn't mean like that. You took it the wrong way. So whereas now we're much calmer, and both of us are able to say, let's come back to this later. And then we do come back to the topic and then we do resolve it. So I feel comfortable enough to say actually how I'm feeling.
Nice. Yeah, that's super important. Like both of you, like holding it in and pushing it to the side and just the year just kind of bubbling up. That's what caused the whole thing to happen in the first place, right?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
As Lewis leaned into the conflict, that's when he made changes so powerful that it poured into every part of his life. Just listen to what happened.
It's just been incredible. Even to have like friends come to me to say, what are you doing? Because you've changed so much. You're such, a better person. And I want to, like, they want some of it now because they know that it's such a good, positive change that I've made.
It's amazing that not only is his wife looking up to him now, but his friends are too. There's another video on adapting to the type of presence that changes your wife's demeanor towards you. You can check that out by clicking around somewhere on the video. Again, if you need support and you want a free evaluation call with our team, make sure you're fully committed. You can click the link down below in the description as well. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers.